Hi, everybody. Welcome to City Girls Pod. And this is the show where we like to talk about everything Sarah Jessica Parker. And we will be reviewing, and just like that, as soon as it comes. We're not sure the season 3 when it's going to come. It was in the sizzle reel. We know it's been shot, so it's sometime. But in the meantime, we're talking about movies that Sarah Jessica Parker made. And today we're talking about Honeymoon in Vegas, which I'm really looking forward to talking about. And I'm film critic Grace Wagner, and Jax is here.
Yes, we're back doing our SJP content.
Yes. Now, this is one of her movies I had not seen before.
Same.
Yeah, I'd heard about it, I knew about it, but for whatever reason, I had never seen it.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that I hadn't seen it. The cover, like the movie poster, I remember seeing a bunch and just never watching it.
Yeah.
So this was a great excuse to indulge in a little bit of Nicolas Cage and SJP.
Yeah. I was only 11 when it came out, so I wouldn't have seen it when it came out. But yeah, it's surprising I never caught up to this one, especially when we'll talk a little bit about the Broadway musical. But yeah.
Yeah, when I was younger, I remember being in the video store and I don't know what your video store used to be like, but when they would have like the things out and then you would take the card and like go up to the thing and get the video, but they
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
the video cases. And my parents probably thought it was too mature, which is probably right.
Yeah. I forgot about that. That's how they used to do it. Yeah, you'd bring that card up.
I card up.
Yeah. It's so funny that you mentioned that, because people have all of this nostalgia for Blockbuster and for all that stuff. And like, sure, I get it, but like it also wasn't that great. Let's be real here. I mean, you would almost never have what you want there.
Right.
And you had to pay the horrible late fees. And you ended up with something that wasn't like really what you want. Sometimes that would be really cool, because it'd be like, oh, this thing I wasn't expecting to be good was good, but a lot of times it wasn't. And at least I guess with streaming, you can just get whatever you want.
It's so true. Like I remember I would get really excited when I would see the covers and then I would look and the card would be gone. Someone had already
Yeah,
taken it to
yeah,
watch. It does fill me with nostalgia, but I also like it's the same way the dial-up internet sound does, but I like to
yeah,
get
yeah.
on the internet quickly and efficiently and not hear busy signal.
Right, right, right. I think people forget those late fees were the worst.
Oh my gosh, and you had to pay to rent every single time you wanted to rent. It wasn't
Yeah.
like look, we have it good now in many ways.
Well, Honeymoon in Vegas, this came out in 1992, and this was directed by Andrew Bergman, written by Andrew Bergman, both. And it stars Nicolas Cage, James Caan, Sarah Jessica Parker. And it is about let's see what the official summary. Jack loses 65,000 in poker in Las Vegas, where he's marrying Betsy. The wedding will have to wait, as the poker winner wants the weekend with Betsy to cancel the debt. She accepts. Whom will she marry? So, what were your overall thoughts? What did you think of the movie?
Um, I had a blast watching it. Really, really fun. This is one of my favorite Sarah Jessica Parker roles. I just thought she was incredibly charming,
Yeah,
really adorable. I just all around a delight.
yeah,
Nicolas Cage is unhinged, and I don't want to marry him. I was into her marrying James Caan until he got like straight up abusive and threatening. So no thank you to that either. But like I was Nicolas Cage is also a delight, and he plays this unhinged character so well. Like
yeah,
it's incredible to watch these actors there's nothing like subtle about what they're doing, but it's very full and big, but truthful. Like that's the style of
yeah.
this movie. And I thought the acting was fantastic across the board. I had a great time with it, but he is unhinged. I don't want her to marry him. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, you could never make this movie today. I mean, I'm sure that's why the Broadway musical didn't do that well. The Broadway musical was in 2015, I think. Yeah, I mean, in a way, in the way there's some refreshing aspects to this movie. Like, I like the fact that you have a character like Sarah Jessica Parker's character, Betsy, that she just wants to get married and have a family.
Yeah.
Like that, she's like, she shouldn't marry either of these guys. Like they are both terrible. But but I did find it kind of refreshing because I feel like you would never see that now. That's what she wants, and she'll do whatever she has to do to get it.
And honestly, like, I admire that. It's just like, girl, I promise you, you could do better than these men.
Yeah.
You are, and also, to your point about she is just someone that she would be such a great mom. She's a fantastic teacher, that she has this
Yeah.
nurturing side. She really wants this. Like, girl, I want that for you. Just let's not with these weirdos.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those early 90s rom-coms were something else. It's really funny. I mean, that you have someone like Joe versus the volcano. Yeah, this. And I mean, just some really wild.
Wild. Like,
Yeah.
I do miss the heyday of rom-coms in the 90s.
Yeah. Love Potion number 9. That was in the early 90s, which is kind of bonkers. And you had Cutting Edge 92, also
Wait, I don't know
92.
that one.
Oh, The Cutting Edge? You never The Cutting Edge, it's a about the hockey player and the figure skater have to become a pairs team. It's ridiculous. It's
Oh,
completely
that's
ridiculous.
cool. It
Oh
sounds
yeah,
pretty
we did. You
Hallmark.
definitely have to watch it. It's really good. But yeah, it was a wild time for the romantic comedy in the early 90s.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
It's also kind of, I mean, obviously Sarah Jessica Parker's a beautiful woman, but I don't feel like she's usually cast as the like ingenue, like the stunning, like stop the everything, let's all, like usually she's not, not in that role, I feel like. So it was kind of refreshing to see somebody. I mean, maybe it sounds ridiculous to say Sarah Jessica Parker is attainable, but like she does feel relatively grounded for this kind of role.
I think you really hit on why this was so nice for me to see her do. I haven't seen her be like grounded,
Yeah.
that new character. And I really think she plays it so well. She has such a vulnerability and sensitivity and a gentleness that it played really well.
Yeah, it really did. Starts off the movie with Anne Bancroft as his mom, and she says her dying wish: do not get married, do not marry anybody. And he makes this promise, and so that sort of starts the catalyst for everything. Because nobody could love her son more than she loved her son. That's why.
Yeah. Also, like, I mean, there are so many things to pick apart with this. It was really exciting to see Anne Bancroft, even though it's only a small part in the beginning. I love that she did this. You have to have a pretty screwed up relationship with your mom to have her say that on her deathbed. It would even be a little screwed up for a partner to say don't marry again. But I could almost get on board with those feelings. Like, okay.
Yeah.
But are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So weird. So weird.
Like why you wouldn't want your child to be happy, that why you would say this it's ridiculous. I mean, I guess she was so miserable in her relationships that she didn't want her son to have this, but to have those same experiences. But he makes the promise, and then also he's a private investigator, so he sees all this cheating and all these people, his marriage is not working out. So that's also part of the reason.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and let's be clear, you don't have to be married to cheat when you're in a relationship. So it's like,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
true.
dude, like,
Well, yeah, and I mean, and what they basically have is like a common law marriage. I mean, for all intents and purposes, they just haven't finalized it. But for Betsy, she can't start having a family with this person until they're married for her.
yeah. And I totally understand that. And she has been more than patient with him up until this point.
Yeah. So it zooms ahead and it shows her she's the best girlfriend, and he says finally says, well, let's go to Vegas, let's get married. And so that's kind of gets our story going. And then we have James Caan, who plays this Tommy Corman, and he's a big gambler, and he sees SJP, and she looks just like his passed away wife.
Yeah.
Which is creepy, but yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. Are you correct that it's creepy? Yes, absolutely. Was I kind of touched by it and intrigued by the story and sort of felt for him? Also,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So do you think that the poker game was rigged?
I do.
Yeah,
Do
he
you?
cheated.
Yeah, he cheated.
Well, because so he invites Jack to this poker game. This is part of being a new person in Vegas. You're gonna be part of the new poker game, and he has a straight flush, so which is like a crazy hand. You would never get it, hardly ever. And then so he bets the big money, and he ends up getting beat by a royal flush, which is like impossible.
Yeah, this guy, we find out more and more throughout the course of the movie what a crook he is. So it was definitely rigged. But also this is very a la Guys and Dolls with like Adelaide wanting to get married and Nathan always gambling. It's like, dude, you need to go do it. Stop.
Yeah, I actually thought about Guys and Dolls quite a bit especially when we were talking about the musical. And I think that there are a lot of similarities. They feel of the same kind of vein, and you're not supposed to take, this is not like gritty Las Vegas. This is like very silly. You're not supposed to take this like seriously. They're not like they're not trying to give like broader advice on marriage and relationships, and this is it's nonsense.
Right.
So
like it ain't that deep. It's not that
yeah,
serious.
And that's not necessarily like an excuse if people might be offended by it, but on the other hand, you kind of have to look at what's the tone, what are they trying to say, what's going on. Like I feel like that you have to kind of take things within context a little bit.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so then so Tommy tells him, hey, I want to be with your girlfriend for the weekend. And this like that what's that indecent proposal? Yeah, indecent proposal. It basically is, but that's a drama and this is a comedy.
Yeah. It is funny to see how those two different movies like show up with this essentially the same premise.
Yeah.
There's also an Indecent Proposal.
That's 93, so that was the year later. There's a theme.
Well, whatever was going on in the early 90s, what was in the zeitgeist and people were thinking about. Yeah, and even the same tone of like the way it all shakes out, I feel like there's a lot of similarities.
What I thought was amazing is after losing this huge bet, you see him there playing craps. I'm like, girl, I would have stopped. I would stop at that point.
Are you kidding me? It's like he has an addiction, and I feel for that. But
yeah,
boy, bye. What are we doing? No.
So he tells her about this and she's furious. But she ends up agreeing to do it. And then they have this I guess kind of weekend together. It is all kept for the story, it's all kept pretty chaste.
Yes. And I got the feel that it wasn't like anything else was happening behind closed doors, because it's clear they're not sleeping in the same room.
Uh-huh.
But this is, Rachel, this might be weird to say, but like, obviously my opinion changed as it went on. But when James Caan's character like leaned in to kiss her and he was like, stop me if you whatever, want me to stop kind of thing, I was like, this is really hot.
Yeah. Yeah, he did start off like pretty charming. You could see why she agrees. It wasn't like insane that she agrees to go to Hawaii.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
At this point
right.
in the story.
Not at all.
And so yeah, she agrees to go to Hawaii, and then and she tells Jack this, that I'm going to Hawaii with Tommy, and Tommy says, you deserve better than Jack. Which is very true.
He's exactly, Rachel. Where's the lie? He's not wrong.
Yeah. And so then the next big part of this movie is all in Hawaii, which I was not expecting. I didn't realize. Yeah, was going to happen. And you get a Ben Stein cameo in this at the airport. He's getting upset about the ticket.
There were cute little interesting cameos. The guy from Monk, Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah, that was weird too. And Tony Shalhoub, he's an incredible actor, of course, but like he's managed to get away with playing more different ethnicities than any other actor I can think of. Like he's
100%
everything. I'm like, I don't know how you get away with that.
He pulls it off. He's got
does.
that ethnically ambiguous look that you're like, he could be anything and everything. He is anything and everything.
It's like Rita Moreno. She's played everything. Yeah. She was in The King and I.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
She's in The King and I. Yeah.
It's so funny. They really transform.
Yeah. So and so then we have them saying, no one is ever as crazy about you as I am. So, Tommy's super in to her. And then we see Pat Morita as the taxi driver that takes Jack. And he takes him to the shack instead of to Tommy's place.
Oh my gosh. And Nicolas Cage is just popping off at this point. Like,
he's getting pretty wild.
Just watching him, like, he totally has a meltdown, and it's amazing.
And then we get Peter Boyle playing Chief Orman, which is definitely cringe. That's cringe, but it was also a little funny.
Funny, but I totally agree with you. I found myself like getting red out of embarrassment. Oh no. Embarrassment.
Hey, this is David from the Piecing It Together podcast, a podcast about movies and the movies that inspire them. For over 4 years, each week, a guest and I take a look at a new movie through the lens of what other movies we think were either an influence or connect in some other way. It's a fun, unique way to discuss films that leads to a great list of other movies to check out that either explore the same themes and ideas or maybe utilize similar filmmaking techniques. Including special episodes in our side series that twist the format, we've done over 200 episodes, so there's bound to be one on a film you've been thinking about and want to dig deeper into. So check us out on all the major podcasting apps and at piecingpod.com.
He takes Pat Morita's car, and he steals it, and Tommy gives her a ring. Says, I want to marry you.
The big ring. It's a nice ring.
Yeah. It just says, life is very short. We all think too much. And he tells her that Jack put her up as part of the card game, trying to diminish Jack. but like we said, she shouldn't be with either of these guys. But I did find it a little, like I said, a little refreshing that she was just like, I want to get on with my life. I'm tired.
Totally. And I didn't get I thought her character was very smart, very independent in a sense too, where she's like, I just need time alone. I want to be alone.
Yeah.
And she knows that, like you're saying, that she wants to have a partner to raise these kids. So girl, go get it. Get what you want, go after it, you know?
Yeah, because I've even thought that from time to time, that it's just like, if I could just find anyone who is up for it, I feel like I'm just ready. Let's do it. I can make it
You're like,
work.
come on.
I'll figure it out. Obviously that's ridiculous, but I have had those moments where I felt like that like, just give me somebody that's like decent, that's like a nice person. Let's make
Yes.
it work.
Yes. But I feel like the two options that she's working with here, they're not decent and they're not nice
that's
people.
true.
So it's like, girl, I totally am on board with, like, if you have, I think we all have these ideas of what marriage and partnership can look like. But if you really are entering into it like mutual love and respect and like wanting the same things and to build a life together, I think that you can do that in sort of like any number of circumstances. But these two men are irresponsible, wild, like not very nice people. And she needs someone who is like tender and loving like her.
It kind of reminds me of a really funny joke on The Nanny when Val says to Fran, says, maybe we need to lower our standards. And Fran says, we were already at male.
I love that.
It can feel that way.
Yes. True.
Yeah.
So good. That's so good.
Yeah. Or in Sleepless in Seattle, when you're talking about that you're more likely to get killed by a terrorist than to get married over 40. And Meg Ryan says, there's practically a whole book about how that's not true. And then Rosie O'Donnell says, it feels true.
It feels true. Gosh, I love that exchange.
Yeah.
I love that exchange in that movie. That whole movie is great.
Because it does feel true.
Yeah. And especially in a lot of cities where the men outnumber the women.
Yeah.
It can really also feel like that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like why are people, the women are like drooling over some guy that's just like, what? He's not deserving of that. But there's just so few options.
Yeah, so it's like when it's slim pickings.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then we get this kind of latter part of the movie, which is Jack trying to get to Vegas to try to prevent this wedding. And that was pretty fun. All the travel shenanigans.
Oh, definitely. And I've never been to Vegas, but I love Elvis Presley. So all of the Elvis Presley impersonators in the beginning, especially the little kid, and then the big grand finale we have, that was a lot of fun. You've been to Vegas, right?
Yeah, I've been multiple times. My cousins live in Henderson, which is, just outside. So, and my favorite mission companion, she lives in Vegas. So I've been there a number of times over the years. Yeah.
What do you think of Vegas?
Vegas is fun. Like they have like the different shows, and they have like obviously I don't gamble and I don't drink. And so a lot of that scene isn't really for me, but like there is quite a bit of fun stuff to do as far as like the different Cirque du Soleil shows and the different things and that you can do, and going to see each of the hotels there, like Bellagio, they have the art and the Chihuly glass, and each one has their little thing, and that's just it's sort of like a giant amusement park.
Yeah.
And it's so hot there and it's so dry, but yeah, it certainly wouldn't be in my like favorite places to visit list, but I can have fun there.
The fact that you enjoyed and you're open to it makes me think I should go at least once, because I
Yeah.
don't drink either. And I don't really gamble. Like maybe I'll like pull a slot, but it's not something I'm gonna like really do. But if there's food and entertainment, I could be persuaded.
Yeah, we could have fun if we did like a Vegas weekend because they have basically so many Broadway style shows there. Like Evil Dead the musical, remember we talked about with Mark?
Yes.
You know, that's there. There's a whole bunch of shows. I think Six is there, which is the perfect place for that. And then there's all the residencies that come in and out. You know, Celine Dion was there for so long, and I saw her there in Vegas.
Oh my gosh, was she amazing?
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit disappointed because the show was really short.
Oh.
For the price that you paid, I don't even think it was 90 minutes. It was really short. And so I was a little bit annoyed about that, but that's why I also think Six is a perfect fit for Vegas because they're used to shorter shows.
Yep, they're like, plug it right in.
Yeah.
Plug it right in.
But yeah, so he ends up on this plane with all with the flying Elvises skydiving team. Fun.
So good, Rachel.
Yeah.
I mean, what an entrance to make. And also like, yes, you could never go wrong with an Elvis impersonator. And I don't want anyone to tell me different.
Yeah, they had, you know, obviously tons of Elvis impersonators. And the little Elvis, like you mentioned, little Elvis, you know, that was Bruno Mars.
Stop.
Yeah.
No. Brutal.
Bruno Mars. It's true. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that gives me such joy. I didn't look it up, but I was like, oh, I wonder who that little boy is and what happened to him. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And so a 6-year-old, he was 6 years old, Bruno Mars.
What an adorable little kid and fun start to his career. I'm assuming that was near the beginning. I mean,
yeah,
he could have done stuff before, but.
So they make the jump, and the fact that like he would be expected to do this on his own, and like never with no training at all. It's quite the thing, because usually I think when you first skydive, you in tandem, you know, with the professional.
Yes, we did have to suspend our disbelief a little bit here.
Yeah. So then she's starting to say, I'm not ready. I don't know about this. She's starting to have second thoughts, and he offers her $500K to marry him. Then he offers her $1 million. And when people make promises to Tommy Corman, they keep him. So he's getting pretty creepy at this point.
Yeah, and he's manhandling her, and it's so gross, Rachel. Like, I guess I should have seen this coming, like he's a crook or whatever, but I actually thought that he had a genuine soft spot for her, and maybe he was very loving to his wife.
Yeah.
And people can be one way in business and in certain parts of their life and really be very loving to their family or their partners or certain people. I really thought that he was maybe a good guy with just this kind of seedy job, but nope, he's not.
Yeah. Well, and how did she end up with the showgirl outfit? I was a little bit.
I
was like, did I miss a scene? Like, why did she get this outfit?
Rachel, I said the same thing. I was like, wait, like, and then I was like, I guess I don't care because it's fun and cute, but like, what is going on?
Yeah. So he jumps from the airplane, and that's the big romantic gesture that she always wanted. And then they get married with all the Elvises there at the end. So
it was, look, I'm happy that Betsy has her happy ending.
Yeah.
These men, no, thank you.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. If they were going to do a remake of this, how they would update it.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because they just had this movie Nora that's out now, which is somewhat similar, actually. But it's like a darker take. that, I mean, it's still, people say it's a comedy. I don't really understand it. I didn't love the movie, but it's kind of, it's similar. She in the movie, it's kind of like Pretty Woman, basically, is the initial setup.
Yeah.
But the woman, they get married in Vegas, but and then there's all these shenanigans by the groom's family to break it up. And that's
Oh.
kind of the comedic aspects of it,
Yeah.
I guess. And like I said, I didn't love it, but it did have like a somewhat similar energy, not as quite as silly as this, but I guess that's how you would have to do a modern kind of take on this, is sort of more in that vein.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
You're right that this does not, age that well at all, but it was definitely a fun watch. I'm curious why they wanted to make it into a Broadway musical.
Yeah, so it's interesting. The Broadway musical. So you and I, part of the reason we wanted to talk about this was because, so we have started, last year we started co-hosting On Stage Blog Theater podcast like three times a month or so. And as we talk about all things theater, Broadway, everything else, it's really fun. You all should check it out. You should subscribe and follow and everything, because we have a lot of great guests, and so I wanted to talk about that, but yeah, this Honeymoon in Vegas. So this was music and lyrics by Jason Robert Brown with a book by Andrew Bergman, who did this, original film. So I think that's interesting. I think that I watched a little bit of it, and I watched the songs and stuff, and it's pretty catchy. I think it looked fun. I'd definitely get a ticket if someone was performing it. I think that it's a very, very big gamble when they use IP that is less well known for Broadway shows. Like, you can have a Hairspray would be the ultimate. Like, I don't know. I mean, I know that John Waters has like following and people love his movies, and I'm sure there were tons of Hairspray fans, but I don't know if just on the IP alone, if it would have sold many seats. If the fact that it was so good and the music was so good and the story was so good and everything like that. If anything, I think the musical made people watch the original film more than the original film made people watch the musical in that case.
Totally agree.
Yeah. And in this case, I just don't think it was special enough on a Hairspray kind of level to do that. And I don't think the movie was popular enough to draw people. Like, it's not a Back to the Future, it's not a even a Beetlejuice kind of a thing where it could maybe do that.
I think that's a really smart analysis and accurate, especially with comparing it with the IP of Back to the Future, Beetlejuice. Like you said, that it would draw people no matter what, or like you said with Hairspray, that it's so good that it makes people go to the source material. And I'm sure it was a fine enough show, but just not enough to really make the that it,
because it debuted in, I think it was January of 2015, and it closed in May. So not like the shortest ever, but certainly not profitable. But it had pretty good critics reviews. It didn't get nominated for any Tonys that year at all, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, which is always interesting if there's no nominations.
Yeah, like usually most new shows will get at least some technicals. Yes, something.
Exactly. Throw them a bone.
And I think the reason why it's not done very much, I mean, I haven't heard of any regional theaters hardly doing it, is because with characters are kind of unlikable. And I just think that you need it to be a little bit more fun in order for it to catch on in regional theater, like say the Addams Family did, which is just done so well. Or even something like Bright Star, like we're rooting for the characters, that's done really well with regional theater. And I think that that's part of the problem. Plus, it also, I think, would be kind of a hard show to do because you've got to have Vegas, you've got to have New York, you've got to have Hawaii, you got to have, like a lot of sets.
Yeah, this is not like a unit set. That is not an expensive show to make, and not an inexpensive show to make. It's also interesting to me that that Jason Robert Brown worked on this. It just doesn't seem his style.
Yeah, I mean, he has done quite a variety because, of course, Parade, The Bridges of Madison County, and
like last 5 years, 13.
Last 5 years. Yeah, this does seem kind of more silly.
Yeah, like I agree with you. He's done such a wide variety, but this is almost like seems so out of left field for something he would want to work on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I was just looking at his things, but yeah, he's won 3 Tony Awards for Parade and The Bridges of Madison County, and it does feel lighter than anything that I see here. See, I'm looking at, he did Urban Cowboy, which is, I think, darker too. Most recent thing he did is The Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, which premiered in Chicago and is evidently being considered for, we might see that on Broadway one of these days.
Yeah.
It was just last year that it was in Chicago.
That'd be interesting if it came to Broadway next year.
Yeah, but I mean, it's another example of who knows that movie. Not very many.
No.
So it's like the material has to be so strong that it introduces people to the movie, not the movie introduces people to the musical.
Which is a heavier lift than the other way around.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, almost every Broadway musical these days is based on some kind of movie, and we'll see how Redwood does. It's an original. We don't have high hopes for it, but we'll see. Coming out this, I think it's in previews now. I think, right? Yeah. So that should be interesting. But yeah, I thought the music was pretty catchy. And it definitely had like a spectacle. Like, I tell you who would be great at this. It might be too edgy for them is Hale Theater.
Oh, Hale would be great.
It would be because they could pull off all the spectacle that is needed. So if they could get they're doing Jersey Boys. Like, I guess it's a cleaned, like, I guess Jersey Boys has like then they have like a cleaned up version.
Yeah.
That's official from MTI, everything, version. Yeah. That you can get. And so they're doing that. So it's like, if they could do Jersey Boys, they could do this. Or they did Sister Act. I don't think Sister Act is that different than this.
No.
As far as content.
I really think that this could be great for Hale.
Yeah. Because Sister Act is actually a pretty violent show. If somebody gets shot, like and
I think you don't think of it on the surface because it's Sister Act and there's religious aspect. But yeah, no, Sister Act
it is. Those goons are bad in it. And so I remember the first time I was like, oh, this is interesting in Utah.
Yep.
So I think that would actually be a good fit for them. But if any of you have seen the Broadway musical for Honeymoon in Vegas, let us know what you think. I heard that the way they did the Elvises was really fun. I would have loved to have seen that. That would have been neat. So yeah, let us know what you think of that and what you think of the movie and where it lands for you in the Sarah Jessica Parker filmography.
Yes, and we would love suggestions on what SJP we should do next.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it because we could do First Wives Club. in because she plays, I think, the other woman in
and that movie is
that
so
one.
good.
And that would be fun. So if you have suggestions, and of course, everybody wants us to do Hocus Pocus, and we've thought about it. It's not my favorite, but it would still be fun to talk about. So let us know what you think. What do you think of this movie? What do you think of SJP? Are you excited for And Just Like That coming out in, who knows?
We don't know, but we'll be here.
Yeah, we'll be here. And make sure y'all check out Onstage Blog Theater Podcast. You think you'll really enjoy it. And Jax, where can people find you?
Jacqueline Collier on Instagram.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure that you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod, Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And you can follow us at City Girls Pod on Twitter. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. And if you're watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our Patreon group and merch store. Check that out. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.